We're live on Facebook. Hello, everybody. We're going to play a little intro as usual, allow people time to come in, and let me share through the network. And also, I've had a couple of inquiries, The Zoom link is only good for live. If you want to watch a replay, you got to catch it on my Facebook page or one of the Soulogy pages and or on YouTube. All right. Be right back. Be right with you. Resurrection is not limited to icons, but unlimited to the life of our souls. We have all walked the dark nights when we thought we were in the right, and we have all walked in the light when we thought there was none. Oneness is underestimated because it covers far more than peace, love, happiness, and the trappings of dogmas. Oneness is to understand that all of the dark nights hold the same face and that everyone's pain is equivalent when weighed against their singular life experience. Oneness is releasing every possession which really had been possessing us all along. The old family gripes so easy to blame on another, the religions and icons forced on ancestors at the price of land and freedoms forsaken. The government conspiracies and royalty belied of the dark demagoguery of foolish human pride. The chains and the stains, the shames and the blames, that even if we're true, serve no purpose but to hide us from ourselves and each other. Divinity is always becoming, always on time, leading to the first and last, the end that begins. I am soul. How's it going, everybody? We got a special show to end the day with. A new friend, beloved sister by the name of Ruth Elisabeth. I'm going to pull her up on the screen now. If these shows resonate with you, please share. I'm going to put the link to Zoom in the comments, just in case anybody's having any issues with maintaining the stream on Facebook, which seems to be an issue. Let me just put the comment. There's the Zoom link. And yeah, let's pull up our new friend and have a little conscious conversation as usual and see what kind of activations we can get into. Here we go. There you are. Oh, wait, you're muted. Hang on. Let me unmute you. Okay. Can you hear me?
I can, Todd.
Uh-oh.
How?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we got you.
Hi.
I'm good. I'm good. It's good to hear an Australian accent. They're dear to my heart.
I've barely
As
started,
my
Todd.
beloved. Well, you barely started, yeah. So, yeah, how you doing? It's good. It's a pleasure to meet you. Thank you for honoring us with your presence, sharing space with us today. We got a few people in the house on Facebook, some in Zoom. I asked Morgan, I said, how do we connect with Ruth Elisabeth? We didn't even know. It doesn't matter because we're here now. But this isn't, I don't know if you've watched many episodes of Soul Speaks 5D. We don't really have an interview. It's a conversation. It's two people get to know each other in front of a bunch of brothers and sisters. And we just talk about real-time intel, what's going on, and, a few other things since we don't know you. We have a famous question here at Soul Speaks 5D when people come on is, when did you wake up?
That's a great question. I ask myself that. It seems to have been, how can we actually say it's like just one thing? It was like every revelation, over my last 30 years has been like bang, bang, bang into a whole new expansion of thinking and that. And I have actually been an initiate on the path, so I've felt every initiation and felt every part of the consciousness opening, So I've got definitely a few times. I think the year 1999 was a very big one for me. I came into a massive, it would have been it was actually Mother's Day 1999, and I mention it in my book because it was where I turned around in myself. And it's where I turned around in myself from basically being on my knees in the dark night of the soul to coming to a point of alignment and really understanding who I was in light rather than in separation. So that year was a massive year, and the following year and those months following actually came up into when quantum science was discovered or bumped into by humanity. And so we actually had a great shift with that. And, Rhonda Byrne coming out with The Secret and things like that was like one thing after another that was just saying, yes, 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 we are quantum creators, And so I started to reformulate everything that I've ever learnt from this new a new alignment or a new inner perspective sort of thing. Maybe that answers it a little bit.
Yeah, it does. No, it is what it is. It's interesting though, because 1,500 episodes, I don't ask that question on every episode. But a lot of the stories are very similar. The primary story seems to be, I was born awake. It was there. And then at some point, 18, 19, 20 years old, or earlier, I went into the matrix and became this role and took on these labels and went into the hamster in a wheel routine and all that and went to sleep, so to speak. And then they had a reawakening. Most of the people talk about 2012, 2011, 2013. I'd say probably 75% of them, and about another 15% point to the early 2000s, like particularly 2008 when the bubble burst and all that. But there's a small minority, 5 to 10%, I'd say, in my estimation, one of them being my beloved Morgan. A lot of those people talk about 1999 and 2000. And then there's a small number of people that are like the 80s and the 70s, and like, whoa, that doesn't even register. But so yeah, it's I think there must have been something going on, because there's quite a few people and a lot of people that come on the show, particularly women, who around 99, 2000, 20 years ago, give or take, had an experience or a sequence of experiences where they were woke and started to work with that energy daily, documenting it. Most of them stayed in the background. When did you start to come out with your unique experience with infinite intelligence? When did you start to come out and put it out there?
My history, I really want to honor the souls that have journeyed and all light workers that have journeyed, not just at this time of awakening. They have been for, 30, 40, 50 years. I've got great older friends who have journeyed every, consciousness growth, every expansion, and they were doing that light work to make ready, for this time. And so every time we've gone and smashed out another wave of consciousness, they've been working for a very, very long time at it and have been honoring us along the way. So I'm so glad that we can
just
do it now.
You keep talking.
Okay.
You keep talking. I'll be right back. I've got an emergency. You keep talking.
Well, so the initiate on the path has actually been through a number of waves of consciousness. The first one was what I was shown to be as silver level. And so that was like pre-90s or around 93 and things like that when I actually came into the understanding of quantum, or starting to come into it. And that was when I could actually realize at silver level that, I could actually make the dog roll over. So I could actually say to the dog, roll over, okay, without speaking to it, but putting intention to it. And it would actually roll over, and all of it. And, I'd like cereal packet to go back into the pantry, and somebody would just get up and actually put it back in the pantry. And so I started actually playing with these things. And that was before the time of gold. And so gold is another area of initiation in which we come from the place of living in bonus land, where we know that we could actually start influencing our environment through thought and desires. And then gold was suddenly the next initiation, of which we were coming into a really multidimensional sense and very much master of what I was talking about before. So 99 was coming into my gold level. And then when I actually came into gold, I was shown that diamond was going to be next. And I have to say, it took 15 years for me to actually progress into diamond. And so I knew that was coming, but on weight, because we had to actually come into letting go of all of our false conditions, okay, that had actually held us back from our own self-mastery. So diamond is all about coming into self-mastery. And diamond energy is the new frequencies. It's the work of soul within us. It's actually the connection with the greater part of me. So the initiation process for me has been to come out of the church. I actually grew up in the church, and I was taught as a very little child that I was a sinner and that I was going to go to hell unless I gave my heart to Jesus. And so every day, every week, that was actually weighing on me from a freedom sense. I had to actually, my whole journey has been to realize that I'm not separated at all, but that I'm actually fully integrated with the greater me. And so it's been a wonderful message to come into. And of course, when you actually come into integration, we're actually then able to project from that knowing and start being of light service and doing healing and work like that. How about that?
Yeah, and it's sorry I had to excuse myself for a second. I needed some help up here. So I know, like, for these folks like yourself who came in, really for all of them, for everybody, even those that were 2011, 2012, even I talked to people 2014, 2017, they have that whole dynamic they have to contend with, which is family and people that have known you a long time, and you're getting all this information. And at some point, now normally what I've seen anyway, people bring in the information and they get hit with that bolt of reality, of truth. And the first thing we want to do is we want to start telling people, and you see it all the time on Facebook. They'll be like, nobody's listening to me, and then you get past that and start to realize, that you start to calm down a little bit. But what I'm saying is that it's always, it's less of a challenge now because of people like you, but I mean, it's been a challenge for people to come out. Now, a lot of people are stepping up now, and it seems to be part of the energy of 2020 that 2020 is bringing in. When did you and I bring this up for people that are going through this now, that might catch you, because what you were going through then could be something they're going through now. but when did you jump out there and say, I'm going to do, I know you wrote a book and we'll talk about that, but, and I know you've had some social media presence. So like, when did you say, okay, I'm throwing in, I'm doing this thing, and not be shy about it? And I know that's a lot, you know, because that takes a lot.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
a lot of
Yes.
us haven't even gotten there yet.
So for me, the way I was able to do it was that I've just honored. So as I got a message through, as I was learning new things, I talk about quantum principles a lot, but as I got a knowing because of my lived experience, I would actually get like a principle would come to me, and then I would share it immediately in my group and friends and things like that. Or if I got a message or something about someone. So it was very scary for me because I started getting messages while I was in the church. And the messages were, open your heart, open your heart. We have to open the heart. Humanity has to open their hearts. And so I started sharing this message, and people would go, yes, yes, that's nice. And back then, I didn't even know what the heart was. I didn't know there was a heart chakra. It was like, just open your heart, you know. And so I started pulling down my own walls because, I mean, I lived in a very dark place. I went through abuse as a child, and it took so many years to come into a place of trust. Then I had to go and actually learn about what I'd been taught as a child, and as an adult study it again, so that I could actually think, well, no, this is actually what I think about it. This is what I'm being taught. This is what I'm being shown. And so it reconfigured everything. So that was a really good time. And through that time, you know, I was getting, you know, visions and dreams and all sorts of things that I was actually journaling every day. And then I'd be sharing it. And because they're quantum principles that come through, this is the beauty of, you know, channeled messages from the life forces, is that you're actually channeling something that is universally beneficial to people. It's not like just for yourself. You can actually apply it to anything, you know. I'll give you an example as we go, but it's sort of like you can apply it to relationships, you can apply it to your business, you can apply it to your individual self, you can apply it to you in a relationship. So, you know, a quantum principle or a channeled message can be actually applied in so many different ways. And, you know, as long as we can actually open up and not box it, we'll get a lot out of it. And then, of course, because it's a quantum principle, you can actually give it to another. So another person can actually utilize it for themselves within their framework, and it will work, you know. So I used to just pass on information to those around me, and they go, oh my God, I just needed to hear that. And I go, fantastic, you know, because you're all in little pockets of friendships at the right time with people. And so I say, anyone that gets a message, please share it, you know, with another person straight away, because we're all light workers and we are all gaining information. And so that information is not just one or two. Every single person on the planet gets information. So share.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's
an open source, free energy universe, you know, and we're free energy components, and that's why I struggle with this. The trademark, copyright, you know, all that stuff.
It is a bit hard.
You know, at some point we've got to make the leap in all you know, in all the different aspects of our lives and our experience in order to actually anchor this stuff in fully. I mean, you know, one of the things that that's a great pleasure of discovery on this show is over time I started to realize that a lot like what you're talking about, you know, exchanging or providing or conveying, say in this example, quantum principles, whatever it may be, however it comes out, the level of activation, stimulation from conversations like this, from the real time experience, seems to carry more weight than anything we even download. But on that note, one of the things too that's really interesting, because it has such variation, is that especially someone that's been doing it for as long as you have, you know, the materialization of their personal experience in their own reality. Meaning, you know, people talk about manifestation and such. how has your your experience evolved in parallel with your continued your continued strengthening, expanding connection, your communion with infinite intelligence? Has there been a direct relation? Have you seen the magic and the miracles in your life? Have you seen things align in your life on a personal level, aside from the information you've received and shared?
Absolutely. Um, to to understand who you are on the inside then reflects on the outside. So a part of what we teach at Matrix Masters is for body wellness. So it's knowing that we are a vibrational being and that we have soul keeping us upright on our feet. So that's the first question we ask anyone is, if your soul pulled out of the top of your head right now, what would your body do? And the logical answer is that it would fall on the ground. So it's actually science. You know, we're this energetic, vibrant being. And so many people don't understand that. But as I've come into the learning of it, so the more that I'm actually standing in, yes, I am light. I am able to project and understanding how my light body works. And then you begin to play with it. So you're always experimenting. It's like, oh, what if I do this, this, and this? Or, you know, something comes up and you actually apply it. And so you just get a greater and greater awareness of its application. And then you know that you can actually project these applications into just about anything. So it's taken a lot of years, but
Yeah.
you have to have a curiosity with it. I'm not sure whether I'm answering the questions properly, but then my world did change, and it has changed over and over again. But it's not to, it's like now I absolutely understand, and I don't struggle with it anymore, is that I am the decider of my own fate. I'm actually projecting what it is that I want to live, and then what I'm wanting to live actually shows up and I become that. So I'm not really living with the whole miracle thing anymore, because I don't need to go those long, thirsty time that I don't, you know, that I'm struggling so much in that. I know that I'm actually just projecting and bringing it in. So I've just been maturing in the way that I perceive it. And so I can actually, I suppose, yeah. So, I mean, I'm not living the most opulent life, and yet I'm so happy with what I call vibrationally matching. What I vibrationally match to now is perfect for me. It's the same on the inside as it is on the outside. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's what I was. That's what I was referring to. I really should have been more explicit. What I meant was like the magical miracle frequency, or and what I'm really talking about are the little miracles. The chance meetings, the quality of a relationship, those little, when the unseen hand of providence moves something out of the way, and all of a sudden, you think you stepped in a pile of dung and you walk out with a bucket of gold. Like, oh wow. I mean,
absolutely,
it's happening more and more. Yeah, I mean, it's happening more and more. More people are talking about it. Okay, and another thing, and this is really a point of curiosity, because I'm not into the stories, but again, to connect dots for other people, maybe they hear something that makes them feel. Most of what I look for and what I see in people is like, oh my God, I'm not the only one. And I heard somebody, or I saw somebody make the comment about you getting information in church, and they said, oh my God, me too.
cool.
Right. The universe speaks to each one of us. The universe. I mean, we speak to each one ourselves in unique ways.
Yes.
And they can have different faces of the universe. Be it divine essences or angelic or whatever. Were there any particular consciousnesses or energies or whatever entities, whatever, that played a prominent role, maybe that brought you into the party 20 years ago, and or that continue to show up or help you sustain and expand the vibration?
I've had the most exciting life. Like, it took me a very long time to learn to come out of the church. So the Christ, Jesus the Christ, the Master, the Ascended Master, was in my life all of my life. Okay. Not realizing to the point of what I know now. However, I then began to expand. I came into the Vedic scriptures, and so I was a part of that for a long time and studied just about every religion on the sun. My main connection was the Ascended Masters. So Saint Germain came in, and he's been actually my mentor for many, many years. And he would come in and laugh at me. How could you think like that? No, it's not like that. It's like this. And so it would change my whole platform of thinking. And, when I thought that I was suffering, he'd just whoosh me up and fill up my light body and go, stand in this energy, take on more, don't be a wuss, So it's really been a great mentor in understanding on how much energy we can actually, fill up, ignite, turn on, project, and how quantum works, because he's a great master of manifestation. And so it has always been teaching that to me through visitations. He'll come in, and I just lose body function. It's like you just can't stand under that presence. And Master Kathumi, Ganesh has been wonderful for me. He laughs at me all the time. Obstacles? What obstacles? It's of your own creation. And so you could ask, it was absolutely wonderful in bridging your thoughts and bringing things together. So I've used, or I've participated with everyone. Carly, it was sort of like whenever I got something going on that was just too much for me, I'd say, Carly, come in, let's do this quickly. And she would just rip it out, and you'd get through this massive experience.
Yeah, isn't that how it works?
My motto was keep it short, neat, and sweet.
Right. Callie,'s I've had a couple of experiences with her, actually through my partner, that were actually I remember one night, I talked about this last year, but it was right after we had a divine conscious union ceremony, and we went to a hotel for 3 or 4 days, kind of a honeymoon, not really, but anyway, so what happened was one night she started morphine, which is not out of the ordinary. And she turned in, her face was half white, half black, with a big long tongue hanging out, among other things. But the funny thing is, the next morning because we're in this small hotel room, right? And I made a joke about it. And she had her back to me, and I was facing the bathroom mirror, and she said, "Are you being a smart ass?" And I said, "No, I'm not." And of course, I had a big grin on my face, and I went to go pull a shirt off those hangers that they have in the hotel, and they had like the little point on it. They have like a little rivet on it.
Yeah.
They don't have the hook, and it flew out of the air and like landed right on my toenail, and like sent me into the biggest bit of pain I've been through. And of course, she was laughing. No, but that energy is really where I have experienced it on a personal level is more like the dragons. The dragon energy has been pretty prevalent this year, and it's come in a few times, and it's like, hey, we're getting to work. We love you. I mean, you don't feel love like dragon love, or I don't. And it's like, whoa.
I love dragon energy.
But they're like, hey, we're cleaning out the closet. It's time to get to work here. But now what about what's been coming in, and I think you got a really good perspective because you have been doing this since '99. And what I mean is, it used to be anything involving the word aliens or ET, had to do with UFOs, had to do with abduction, had to do with this, had to do with that. And of course, at least half of this stuff out there is just a bunch of, propaganda anyway, just a psyops anyway. But anyway, my point is the galactic communication, direction, guidance, star family, whatever you want to call it, seems to really have been ramping up the last 2 or 3 years. Has that been a part of your community? And to what extent, is there any particular star family or?
Yes, absolutely. So I've always known that I've had serious connections. That happened again in early 2000s, and so I've had a lot of visitation. And that, regarding these topics of things, I always say yes to everything. It says do not judge. So it's like if people are throwing around theories of whatever, I go, yeah, it's possible. It's possible. We have created everything under the sun, and everything is possible. But now the galactic side, it's just so magnificent. We have these beautiful light languages coming through, and, you know, it's sort of anything to bring our frequency up. So this is what we're doing at the moment, is receiving. And we're receiving, I mean, you know, I know that I actually experience light language. I always have, you know, but at the same time, people are perhaps more adept at this and able to project it and impart it and things like that. And this is what the community of souls is all about. You know, the community of souls. Every single light worker has the capacity to project blessing through this means. And so my thing is, let's say yes to everything. But, and you see, the more that we come into our greater self, so if I can just can I use my pretty picture? Because I absolutely love my diamond to teach.
You can do whatever you want to do. Yeah, you can do whatever you want to do. Yeah.
Isn't that beautiful?
There you go.
Okay, so at the present time, this is humanity, okay, in the third dimension. And this is the fifth dimension and above, and the multiverse, okay, all that we are. And humanity is actually coming up through this, this bottleneck here, okay? And so this is what a lot of people are actually experiencing, extreme pressures at the moment, because we all have to come through this point here. Now, why is that important to us? So the diamond has reflection, okay? And this is as above, so below. But what has happened is that we actually operate in the third dimension, or between the third and the fourth, and we're actually rising to the fifth and above. But we have what's called duality, good versus evil, right versus wrong, and it is built within our vibrational framework. So this is why we've been taught in the past by the masters quantum law. It's like, do not judge. Why? Because if I actually project something out into my world, I'm going to activate something and it's got to come back to me and I will experience it. So humanity has built so much, you know, so much beauty and yet so much disaster as well. And so we're all coming up now in this time of consciousness. We're actually gravitating towards this section here. And guess what it is? It's if you can imagine this picture also as being the human body, then this is the solar plexus. And so this is the psyche of humanity. And this up here is the heart chakra, which is connected to the greater us. So if you can imagine that being the soul. So when we said if soul pulled out the top of our heads right now, what would our body do? It would just collapse. Okay, but we have such great connection. We are already alive and on our feet and projecting. Now, so humanity itself, and this is not just humanity. So we can actually say, phew, I'm glad it's not just me. And, oh, well, I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. But what this is our lower parts of our body. So if you actually sense, I'll see if I can just project it a little bit more, but the heart chakra, this is why the heart needs to be opened, and the lower part is our solar plexus. The solar plexus is what we get all of our anxiety and stress and survival from and things like that. And most people don't actually know how to project and process that energy up into the heart chakra, which is the cleanser. Why? Because it actually holds unconditional love. Okay, and unconditional love is based in the fifth dimension and above. So everything that we've created here, or everything that we've created in the third dimension here, is now being reprocessed up into the heart and up and sending it back to light. So we no longer send things outside of ourselves. We actually are taking it all up. And that's why people have got all of this stuff going on, is because what's going on now is the heart chakra is going through this dynamic opening. So the heart chakra is going through its own initiation and opening up, and it's an actual physical activity. This can take many hours or even days for the heart chakra to open. So we've got people, you know, coming on with, you know, thinking that they're having a cardiac arrest or whatever. This is a very physical event, that their heart chakras are opening, because no longer are we able to shut it down. So old practices, old shamanic practice and religious practice has been to open the heart and then shut the heart for self-protection so that nothing can touch me. We're coming into our self-mastery, which means I open completely and remain open, okay, so that I am that I am. I am the projector of light. And if I'm the projector, if I am the creator with the creative force running through me in alignment with soul, then I've nothing to actually self-protect from. So this new time of consciousness is totally about being love and light, literally, because unconditional love dissolves the nonsense that we create through fear. That makes sense? So split second, we actually collapse.
Oh, yeah.
It dissolves it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're essentially recycling it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, it's, you know, and to hear so many different explanations of the same thing. You know what I mean?
That's right.
I mean, it's like, no, really, it's I can see now more than say 2 years ago where there is a congruence to what the way people are experiencing it, the way they're conveying the information. But absolutely, I get it. That picture does a lot too. Even if you put that picture on
it's
a horizontal,
beautiful.
It looks, if I look at that picture vertically like this, I get everything, even without words. And then if you turn it on the horizontal,
I know.
To me, it would be similar to toroidal field, or whatever.
Yes,
that,
of course.
whatever that thing is. Taurus,
yeah,
Taurus.
I asked and it
so
came, and it's been perfect.
Too, no, that's fantastic. It's beautiful. Another thing that comes up too is like, to me, if you have it on the horizontal, or even not, it has like an infinity sign type of thing, right?
Yes,
like it has an infinity,
that's right.
And that space in the middle, to me, everything we're doing is about integration. You know, we're in a duality. We're moving to the Trinity. We're taking the extremes of a spectrum and we're bringing them into the 0 point. That's what that little space represents. It represents so many things because it's multidimensional, multi-meaning, multi-purpose. But another thing that comes to mind too, and going back to the old school religion, was the camel through an eye of a needle, right?
Yes,
somebody else put it on the show. Well, that's that little space from the solar to the heart you're talking.
That's right.
Like, and somebody said, yeah, it's kind of like Santa Claus. You know, it's kind of like Santa Claus carrying a bag of toys in his over his shoulder, and you can't take the baggage through the eye, right? So there's a lot of and the fact that it's diamond, and then the pressure, you know, refining it from coal to diamond, you know, so it's like, yeah, I totally get this. And so much of what's coming across now, which unlike, you know, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, where everything had to be very well explained, it had to be like really laid out. That's where we came from. Now, so much of the stuff is moving at a quantum level, and it's coming through intuitively, you know, imagination, creative, whatever you want to call it, telepathy, and it's moving so fast. So the exchange of energy is increasing rapidly. The amount of stuff that we can actually take in and emit is huge. How have you? What does that look like as a practitioner? As you have gone through these 20 years, what's that look like in terms of your clientele? I mean, are you seeing people that are upgrading, you know, more rapidly? Are there more people that are quote unquote awake, you know, aware, something's going on, you know, whatever? I mean, are you seeing that?
Oh, totally. I mean, I've always been blessed. We were talking about miracles before, so I've always had what I call divine appointments. So it's sort of like when you know that soul is you're meant to meet each other, this massive energy would happen. And we're brothers, you know, we're sisters. We've got soul family here. So it's just a wonderful time to be alive. And I remember years ago that, you know, somebody like myself, you know, that you just wanted to hang out with, but they'd be way over there in the distance doing their work, you know, and they'd be working their area and I'd be doing mine, and all of my favorite people that I could see were doing it would be so far away. And then we've just come closer and closer and closer to now being able to just blend with one another and be a part of the same tribe instead of having that isolation. And I think it's a lot because remember the time that we'd have a dream and it takes 3 years for the dream to come true. It's sort of like very patient. Whereas now I can actually have something come to me and it happens that day. We are so now in,
It's almost
instantaneous
it's almost
manifestation.
freakish.
Yeah. Oh, well,
and it's also
the way it is.
it also and it also helps you guard your thoughts too, because sometimes the stuff pops in your head, and if you let it sustain itself, it boom, you're
Yes,
gonna get
absolutely.
it. Be careful.
Yep.
Another thing too, I think
Absolutely.
another thing I think that's helpful to people, because they can look at someone like you and go, "Oh my God, she's got it, man. She can do this, she can do that." You know, uh, I know that it couldn't have been that easy in 1999, 2000, 2001, 2003 as you're making your way. It's almost like you're living a double life. You're going in here and you're pulling this information in, and you're and you're journaling it and whatever you would do. Then you got to go step back in. You got to go to the supermarket, be a mom, be a partner, be a friend, be a daughter, be whatever.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah,
and so
absolutely.
that's changed. That I think has changed a lot. Like having, I would imagine stepping into the human part for all of us has gotten a little bit easier, if you want to put it that way. But in terms of like, energies, whether it's solar flares, geomagnetic storms, whatever you want to give, you want to give the credit to, or just a good old fashioned trigger from a friend or an acquaintance or a customer or a father or a mother, brother, sister, ex-spouse, whatever, children are great ones. But what do you do on a personal level when you get triggered, or you get knocked off balance a little bit? How do you deal with that today on a personal level? And if you want to, how do you walk your clients through it?
Okay, so so I have lived all of the triggers. Okay, I've lived every trigger under the sun. I called it hell back then. Okay, I was totally triggered by everything. It was like a nightmare. But to unpack that nightmare and know that slowly, the more I gave it up, and slowly, the more I healed, and that I went through, many, many years of that. When I started coming into the quantum teaching, to get a principle come to me, so I'd actually live an experience. It might have even been my children. My children are fantastic teachers. They would, I've got this teaching about fist in the cranium. It's fantastic. It's teaching us that to let go and stop trying to control, because I was a very controlling person. And so all of these principles that came my way, like only a number of years ago, 10 years now, I had this thing in the Blue Mountains that happened. I was absolutely devastated. And this message, after 3 days of just being so upset, my heart was in agony. And finally, I just asked for peace. That's all I want, just peace. Stop this, because my monkey mind was going, everything was triggered. And then I got this beautiful principle came to me straight out, just a channeled message. And it said, triggered emotions are based in control. And I'm going, triggered emotions based in control. And I say, go slow on that.
Yeah.
Triggered emotions.
Triggered emotions are based on control. Yes,
in control.
I can see that. Well, like are based in control. Yeah, I can actually see that. So it's like the triggers are, the roots way over here, and the triggers, all the different ones, are all out here. But if you follow them, they all go back to this. Yeah. Which is, and to me, that's how the whole thing works. People talk about fallen angels and they talk about lesser gods and all this. And I think that's us. And I don't mean that, literally so much. What I mean is energetically. What I mean, it's energetically. I mean, it's like when we're in those moments when we think we got this shift figured out, we think we know better. That's where that control goes. I've never heard somebody admit that so openly. I think that's great. But it's whenever that happens. Even I remember when I woke up 8 years ago, I walked the streets for a couple of years, and I would just be in a constant communion. And of course, you get those revelations and epiphanies come in, and you think, "Oh wow, man, I know what I'm talking about." And as soon as you take on that, what is it, arrogance, or unconscious arrogance, or I know better than the universe, however you want to put it, you get a swift kick in the butt. So to sit there to listen to, but to listen to somebody so matter of factly just say, I had a control issue. So many people, well, we all do. We actually all do. It just looks different. But if we really drill down, that's what's happening. So how did you deal? It sounded like that was a big factor for you. How did you deal with that? How did you start to, I realized that, the first part of transformation comes in being aware of it, but how did you get through that? Because that must have been a pretty big trip.
Absolutely. I mean, if the egoic self, so I don't really teach on the egoic self anymore. To me, that the egoic self is the little me. So I talk about the little me and the greater me. Yeah. Okay. And the whole point is integrate the little me with the greater me, because the greater me actually came from light, and I actually know what I set in the rollout of my life. So I'm not quite sure why I argue with myself. See, the little me is actually being taught to me as me being opposite, asking for help, begging the universe or begging God for assistance. Okay, in true reality, in this consciousness that we're coming into, it's I am in alignment and I project from here. So that message that came through with the little me, okay, was suffering an experience that was really extreme. I'd actually come out of an 18-year marriage, okay, and I'd done what people thought that I shouldn't have done. And so this was actually said to me. So I went into this massive space of upsetness. When the message came to me, it was really interesting, because I'm going, look what they are doing to me. I can't justify what I'm doing. They say you just did this or you just did that. There's no just about my life, nor anybody else's usually. So that's why we shouldn't cast judgment. However, when that message came through, triggered emotions are based in control. I take it word by word. Triggered emotions are based in control. And because it's based in control, that means I myself am trying to control something. So it doesn't matter if I get one little tiny tear, okay, or have a pity party about anything, I'm actually trying to control it. And so instantly I can actually go, oh, what am I trying to control? Okay, and then it comes back. Now, very quickly, I can actually put myself into a proper position. Are you there? I just lost you. Oh, there.
No, I'm here. I'm listening.
The principle, when we get a quantum principle come through, it has very powerful ramifications for the next and the next experience. So I'll give you an example of that. A little further down the track, I was doing these card readings one day, and I kept on getting this card up. Somebody in the afterlife wants to talk to you. And I go, I don't want to talk to anyone. Like this person, like seriously, don't want to talk to my relatives, really, who wants to talk to me. Anyway, it was actually a long story, but yes, there was a soul that did want to talk to me. And so I allowed myself time, and I get this message through, Ruth, you have endured much. And I'm going, yes, it's been such an isolated, lonely, long path. And I get this little tear like this. I'm going, yes, somebody cares, so we go down that sort of line. And then I get this realization. I'm going, hold on, triggered emotions are based in control. What's this? Okay, what am I trying to control? And do you know what? The message was actually about endurance. Now, endurance as a vibration, if I believe in the quality of endurance to the level that it will give a tear, okay, means I do think that it's a good quality, and I did. Endurance was a vibration that I used and a quality that I used to get through stuff. I had so much to get through, and I needed endurance. However, this quantum principle actually showed up in this and said, if I have something to endure, okay, what is it about endurance? I had to actually look at it because I was experiencing some form of control with it. So it came down that I'm a creator. If I'm a creator that believes in the quality of endurance and I'm projecting out onto the quantum field endurance, what do you think I'm going to experience a lot more of? More things to endure. See, you project out, it comes back to you. Whatever or have an opinion on, whatever you love and give your attention to. And in this case, it was endurance. So I was actually the creator of all of this stuff in my life that I actually had to endure and to conquer.
Yes.
Each principle builds onto another and another and another, and it becomes a self-governing platform. You can self-correct with the principles that I've gotten over this whole period of time. It's because they are just simple frameworks that I can actually self-adjust and self-govern from.
Yeah. No, I get that. And, a lot of people, I think, are getting to the point now where they're blessing all these traumas, like what you went through. So many of them are these empathic, narcissistic relationships and the stuff that we did in the name of love, and, all and even the stuff that's really gruesome on the human scale, the human only scale, which would be like the rapes and the, molestations, incest, all that. But, you see more and more people that are carrying that, protectively, and not holding on to the story, but saying, oh my God, what a gift these things were, which is a big step for all of us too. People talk about, in fact, I got a message today. I don't usually read a lot of them, but I got a message today from somebody who had been kind of, and it was all about, and I don't know the person very well, but it was all about the cabal, and it was all about how things were set up, and all about the justice that needs to come to the service. And I thought to myself, I thought, wow, I mean, what a hold any aspect of this externalization can have on us. And it doesn't matter if it looks like some little iota or it's some big global conspiracy involving galactic wars and the archons from the fourth dimension, whatever. It's like, okay, let me put it to you another way. So in terms of the Saint Germain Ascended Masters, let's just use that as an example, your communication, your communion with these essences of the universal, which you are part of, the you, me, we, and it. How much of that, and I say that with all respect, is I am that, how much of that do you consider to be embodied in you, part of you, and how much of it do you consider to be unknown or external? I'm just curious.
Oh, that's a really interesting question. I am 100% all that I am. I'm it. We talk about, so as much as I don't do channeling, I don't need to go to external sources, and I don't really ask the masters to come in anymore, because I actually work from what I classify my own board of directors, which is the divine feminine, divine masculine, divine inner child. So I've actually healed the wounded part of my little self, being able now to participate in the greater me. So I'm not doing it 100%. I'm actually doing it to the level, well, you are just to be light, just be light. But we teach on how to activate it, how to come into alignment within a holy instant and project. But these other, you see, this is why I love quantum law. One quantum law or quantum principle is judge not lest you be judged. Now, I don't care whether it be over a galactic issue or a narcissist. Okay, it doesn't matter. As soon as I project something to cause separation of myself against that, I am going to bring something to me in some way, shape, or form that I will also experience in my reflection, in my lived experience, like kind. And that's why we were taught it. I mean, that's why the master said, judge not lest you be judged. It's not, people go, oh, you're judging me, you're judging me. It's like, that's such childish behavior.
Yeah,
teaching quantum law. It says what you project out of you vibrationally is going to vibrationally come back to you. And does it serve really want to live that?
And that goes back to that picture of yours. I mean, that is it right there.
That's right.
And
what
we
I remember, project out, we live.
Yeah, that's right. And which one is above and which one's below, I don't know, and it doesn't matter. That's the way I look at it. What's without, what's within, I don't know. It's too. But I remember, like in my early 20s when I started on the path, and I started reading voraciously. And the first thing I did was the religions, because I was like you. I was raised Catholic for a few years, and then I got introduced to different Protestant religions when my dad remarried and so on. But
Yes.
and then I kept going like, wait a minute, there's like good stuff in all of this. But then I started to realize it was just basically one thread that I could find. And I even researched it, and I did like a post on it years ago when I first came out. And that was what people call the golden rule. What goes around comes around. You get what you.
Yes, there's a quantum,
you know what I mean?
quantum principle right there.
And I found it in Confucianism. I found it in everything. Taoism. They actually had it in the text, put a little differently, but they was all saying the same thing. And I thought, well, that's not a mistake. I mean, that is the spirit science right there. Now, the quantum thing is really interesting to me. Now, I don't get real in depth with it, like some of my friends do, but what I understand is really, I think what you're saying, and maybe you want to elaborate on this a little bit. I don't want to run out of time because I want to talk a little bit about some of the stuff you're doing. And that is that, as I understood it, or when it clicked for me, I'm like, what is this? Quantum mechanics, quantum theory. And I looked at it, it's like, okay, well, you're observing. Yes, I'm observing. Now, based on what you're observing and what you do with it, in other words, how you judge it, how you work with that energy is what's going to happen. And I started like, oh, wait a minute. Now, wait a second. Okay. So then you start to apply that to the human thing, like the daily interaction and how you communicate with people or don't communicate with people or whatever the case is. Because I'm going to work every day to expand. And I started to get to the point where I realized, okay, wait a minute. Now, I'm not thinking good about that person or that situation. Therefore, I am creating that. And then I started to say, okay, now I can take responsibility. Yeah, but you know what I mean? But this is the real stuff that I'm listening to people talk. And I'm like, okay, well, how do you do that? How do you tell somebody, I love you unconditionally, but F off? I mean, like, I'm sorry I didn't answer your email, but I'm having enough, it's taking all my energy just to stay balanced in my everyday life or whatever the situation is. But it really brought it home to me.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, go on. Sorry.
No. I was just gonna say what really brought that home to me was I don't know. I read it on a post or whatever, or maybe I investigated, but it was about the fact that based on so it's like A plus B equals, and so A might be the observation, and B is whatever you call that, what you do with that. And the equal. So I started focusing on the other side of the equal sign, which could be, I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to do anything because if I don't do anything, you know what I mean? Right.
Absolutely.
Of course it irritates people, and this is the kind of stuff that I'm like, I do get fanatical about. It's like, how do we do this? How do we do this without having to, because I found out too, the more you talk, the more it gets messed up. It's like, we know what's happening here. We don't have to like go into all the neediness and the wounded part of it.
Yes, that's right.
Oh, yeah. So it's interesting how this is all unfolded from all this ET-ish, paranormal, Mandela effect, and sacred text, and this and that, and it's all like breaking down into this raw, real human experience where all the gold is.
That's right. I think
so. You have a book. I don't want to run out of time. We already did.
Yes.
You're okay to stay a few extra minutes? Okay.
Absolutely.
So you have a book. Can you tell us tell us in general what the book's about? And also, that way you don't have to ask, you don't have to wait for me. And also go into that website that you sent me the link for. I went to it. You mentioned it earlier. You have some colleagues that work with you on it. I looked into it.
Yes.
And talk about that a little bit as well.
So diamond is the new frequency. Okay. So a lot of people still in doing like Reiki and things like that. I remember initiating into Reiki. And when I started doing Reiki, I'd be like a balloon just full of energy, and I had to impart it somewhere. So Reiki has done the magnificent job of restoring Gaia into her full capacity. But now Gaia is joining with the cosmic energies, and that meeting place now is in the heart chakra. And this is why the heart is such an important place to open and to ignite the heart. So the heart chakra is a little bit like the battery and the flame that starts the battery to your car. You have to actually ignite it by reconnecting to your own soul. And so then I came into reconnection healing and then diamond reconnection. So we are now teaching practitioners how to set up their light body so that they can actually do all of this healing and things like that with diamond energy. And diamond is so pure because it is based in unconditional love. There is no judgment within it. So it doesn't matter what vibrational story, what wounding. And most of us walking this journey up into here have got the wounded child, okay, still vibrationally active in their communication, in their relationships, in what they are creating. As a quantum creator, they are projecting through the wounded child. It's a massive story, which comes from generational stuff that we've come in with, we've been wrapped with. This is the time of unwrapping. This is the time of actually signing off all karmic experience. So I don't know why I knew this, but I always knew that I was doing this lifetime once and once only, and I'm not coming back to do this nonsense again. This is it. And most people actually go, yeah, I'm not doing it again either. We've come for a purpose. We've come to end the 3D contracts to what has been karmically known as lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. That time is finishing. The high frequency souls that have been coming in, the rainbow children, the diamond children are next, the crystalline children are here. We've had the indigo children. We've got waves of very high beings coming in onto the planet. And there's a reason for that, okay? Down here, we've actually been gifted with free will. Okay, it's very important that each one of us knows that we are creator, connected to the greater me. So I actually came from here, dropped down into the physicality, and I walk here. And my greatest gift given to me is that I have free will. I can say, yes, I give consent to that, or no, I don't give consent to that. If I give consent to something happening to me, then I'm the person who's actually given consent in some way. Now, it sounds really... Yeah. It's a difficult thing to understand for a victim. That's why I've written it out to understand how it vibrationally works. And when you actually lighten the load vibrationally and let go of those vibrational stories, we actually don't have the vibration in our light system anymore. So we talk about full body wellness, and there's a reason for that is because most people living in a Western world are in the medical model, or they're under the mental health model, or suffering and experience stuff. And we don't mind what that stuff is, but you can actually unpack the vibrational stuff that we've been putting on ourselves through society teaching us incorrectly. We've lost all of our teachers. We've wiped out the original sovereignty. We've wiped it off the face of the earth. We're only just gaining back soul sovereignty through this movement, where we are all coming up into the ability to reconnect to the greater us. So at this time, we are actually coming up in it, but each individual has the capacity to touch base with their greater them and start becoming soul governing, self-governing. And this is why terms like people democracy. We're coming into the time of people democracy. That's why our leaders are failing. They cannot play. We talk about play the game. It's a construct that we actually teach in our schools. Don't play the game. And it's actually in the book. But they're playing the game. Anyone playing the game, anyone that's a victim, anyone that's intimidating, anyone that's trying to rescue people, you're in an active game, and it has to bring more of the same kind of activity back against you. It's in cause and effect. That's what duality is, cause and effect. Okay, good versus bad, etc. So every time we ourselves project a reflection out onto the quantum field of judgments against anything, it must become a part of our lived experience. And that's where we teach about Plan B. Plan B is a horrible place to live.
There is no plan B. I used to hear that from one of my ex-wives.
There is no plan B,
plan
but
B. Like,
plan A is much nicer.
Plan B. Well, I think you bring up a good point too, because not only do we have to move out of that victimization thing, which is rooted in a codependency frequency, that type of thing. That's why empaths stayed with narcissists for so long, because we believe they were going to change or whatever. Yes. But it's also because we know now that this fishbowl of a realm was most likely a little bit different. A lot of people have some pretty good intel that come on here and they talk about how this planet's set up totally different than other places they have recall. But so we have given consent. We have given consent.
Yes, that's so important to understand.
Yeah. Well, we were duped. You and I, we get married. We have a contract. We have a kid. We have a birth certificate, and so many debt. Signing anything. It's consent. Every time we walked into
consent,
a church,
that's
we
right.
Consent for them to,
That's right.
Where I think this is going to start to benefit us now, because of this unity consciousness growing and the oneness thing growing, is in terms of taking on and processing and integrating, equalizing all of these by only human terms only, meaning only the human aspect, the horrific things that are coming to the surface that have people, seething, and wanting to hang people. So I say that what I'm watching is not what's being disclosed, because we know there's a bunch of bullshit out there, right? We know that, but
it's nothing new.
How are we going to react to
right.
it?
So this is,
you know what I mean?
Yes.
If we're truly going, you know what I mean?
It comes back to quantum law, and this is what we can expand, but if we actually don't understand the law of the greater realms and how it actually works, we're going to be creating more mess than we realize. So we cannot have a judgment. So yes, all of the uglies, they've been here forever. We know it. It's an old story. There's no point in saying, oh, I'm a victim, and this person and that person's going through all of this stuff. This generation, has been wiped out, all of this genocide and everything. We know it. It's like, seriously, we already know it. Most of us actually have got enough education under our belt, so we know it. So there's no need to keep talking about it. What we need to be doing is the light work, and the light work is in that holy instant, and every holy instant that I do not project more fear and separation into or against anyone. Because the truth is that soul who has been a perpetrator goes to light where they came from. Yeah. Okay? They're not essentially evil when they go to light. They just go to light and are light. They're absorbed back into light. Okay, no, they're not going to hell, and no, there's not a jail up there either. They get reabsorbed. Right. If you're wanting to do powerful light work on this planet right now, it is to know that, one, you have free will, and you get to say how it is. So we go, no, we're not having any of that. Thank you very much. We are going to have every single soul remember who they are. Remember, we come from light. And even those perpetrators in those systems are actually, you can call their I am presence through. We can call them to us and say, hey, let's have a soul meeting about this. Okay, great light work is calling out the actual soul to actually have that discussion. Because in the soul, there is no issue. There's no issue when you are actually aligned with the greater you.
That's right. And that's, again, it's that little, I'm going to borrow your stuff. It's that little self being the lesser God saying to the bigger self, I don't need you. I got this figured out. I know how this works. Well, you don't know how it works. You don't know how it works. I always look at it like the universe, is like a yin yang, right? So you have like a veil. We're on one side of it. We don't have the vision. Well, we're getting it, but we haven't had the vision from the other side to see the whole thing from the outside looking in. Because if you really look at it, this is what it is. It's not, I mean, okay, if you just look at the disclosure movement, okay, and I'm talking, secret
Yes.
space
Yeah.
program, runaway civilizations,
Mm.
and conspiracy, and believe me, I totally honor it. I still research stuff because it woke a lot of us up. It woke me up, that
Mm.
type of thing. But it's starting to lose its traction. It doesn't have the adhesion that it had before. Because it's running out of steam. And as my beloved told me
That's
2
right.
years
That's
ago,
right.
we're gonna
Here.
we're gonna but she told me 2 years ago, we're gonna enter this period as we get further into it, where the universal energy will not support anything but pure truth. So whether it's a relationship, whether it's a relationship with your job, in the place you live, or whether it's a movement that served us, because the thing is, something that served us, just because something got us to this level doesn't mean it's going to get us to the next one. Things serve us.
That's right.
The yogi guru frequency served us. The template served us for a long, long time, but now people are becoming self-empowered and it's no longer effective. People are going, wait a minute, if you can do it, I can do it. Or who do you think you are? Anything that sets into motion a superiority, inferiority line of distinction,
Yes.
it's not going to
Yes.
fly.
Could I speak into that a moment? This is
Yeah.
one of my great concerns, okay, is that the sovereignty movement becomes a movement, okay? It's very difficult for people to see, and it's very simple to understand in this. If each individual has any form of the game going on, creating judgments of us versus them, this person is true, this person is not. If we've got any of that language going, you can absolutely understand that that person has not yet come up into letting the game go. And as soon as you hear the game, you can actually identify and say, yep, not quite there yet.
Yeah.
No judgment on that, just not quite there yet. Another spin around the mountain, on their way up. It's no big deal. But I do get concerned that the sovereignty movement of soul is not going to look like it did. It's not just by certain Indigenous peoples. Every single one of us is an Indigenous person because our soul brought us to the continent that we were born on, to the time and space that we feel to inhabit, because our heart is actually pushing us there. Our soul is driving us there. And we must respect the individuality of each and every single soul, because the soul sovereignty is what is speaking now from the heart. It is the one that's talking about reconnections and the greater, connection between us. So it's very important that we're not creating separation. And the movements, like even there's been such a big movement with the divine feminine. The divine feminine, and talking about Gaia getting even. Gaia doesn't get even. When I activated my 13th strand, she became me. She said to me, I wanted to come up through you so you could feel my presence within you and know that you are of me. And she has not told me to go annihilate any particular group. I know that I can actually instantly pass under the surface of the earth and pop up into wherever we need to do light work. Through our free will, we can participate. Gaia, the misrepresentation that still has consequences and retribution in the language still doesn't understand the diamond consciousness or the new dreaming that is coming through. So I just want to say that to your audience. Very important. If there is separation in behaviors, we have issue.
Yeah. It's so deep, but the fact that we can even talk about it shows that there is an expanded awareness about it. But I like it because I go back to the quantum thing, right? I think I would like to invent another strain of it, which would be called the quantum soul simplicity, which is really okay. It's like my higher self told me like 2-3 weeks ago, came in and just said, okay, here's the lesson for the day. You are the only point of separation. And I'm like, what do you mean? You are the only point of separation. No matter what you observe, what you experience, separation lives and dies with you, which means unity lives and dies with you. You know, and I'm like, okay, so
Wow, that's
to
good.
me, that's taken that quantum science into the physicality. But you know what I mean? It's like taking the quantum, the whole thing, the quantum science, into the physicality in conscious free will actions, words, and thoughts. Because look,
That's it.
you know, whether it's this is where I get frustrated with, like, for instance, the Trump and QAnon thing. I don't care who, you know, I don't have any, I don't have any skin in the game. You know, Clinton, Trump, you know, whatever. I only trust, like, me and you. I trust the 99.99, if you want to put it that way. But what I see is that anything that brings separation is just fueling the old story. And this is what you're talking about. This is why I find it
Exactly.
interesting talking to you. So
See, the
we'll need
separation
to get
is
together again.
within us. The separation is the separation from me and my relationship.
Yeah.
Just give two
That's
things.
it.
If you're wanting to check
That's
this
it.
out, there's an issue of judgment. We look first, how am I doing this to other people, myself? How am I playing the game? How am I doing this to myself? Or how am I doing this to my soul? How am I doing it to my board of directors? Am I not listening? Am I projecting something that I shouldn't be? How am I ignoring the greater me? So there's 3 levels that we actually teach people, and we need to get to the bottom. And we can always self-govern by having a look at those 3 levels.
Yeah. 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 And that's the thing, you know, it's like I say sometimes, it's like, I cannot say I am that. You know, I am the I am that. If I say I am that, but I'm not that, and I'm not that, and I'm not that, you can't do it. It doesn't work that way, you know?
Whatever you see in your
yeah,
reflection.
but I think we're making good progress. And I think we all know.
Whatever you, Todd, whatever in your reflection, if a person sees something in the reflection that they don't like, the reflection is definitely a seed within themselves. Okay, whether I'm afraid of, you know, somebody crashing
no doubt.
stealing from me, I've projected it. If I believe in neighborhood watch, okay, and I'm bringing more, you know, police presence because I'm afraid, I have created it. It all comes from us. This book actually unpacks human law versus quantum law. And I tell you what, humans have actually scared themselves silly by not understanding the simplicity of quantum law. So it's very worth the read.
Absolutely.
The soul is perfect. The soul is pure. It has no issue with anything that we in the 3rd dimension think. So this soul, the greater us, has no issue with those that we think that we're in enmity with, or the system. Okay, I remember sitting down, I was always frightened of commerce and the spirit of commerce, you know, it was like money is the root of all evil. And one day I was sitting in Myers in a going, look at this beauty, look at all of these creations, look at the minds that have actually produced them. It's like the board of directors, the divine masculine, feminine, divine inner child have been a part of every single one of those creations. And I was judging it. So I brought the spirit of commerce to me, and I just go, wow, you know, I felt it. It's a beautiful spirit. It's like we're actually creating animosity, saying that we shouldn't be a part of these things when they've actually been created through an innocent beauty of soul within us. So it's only the tragedy of mankind and the game that twists it into something ugly. The truth is we are a living soul all the way down through from light, all the way down into the mother. Okay, so it's like we could not be more perfect as nature herself. And this is the knowing that we're coming into, is that the elemental body of our, you know, our forces within us and the elements within us, we are so perfectly created, you know, in this human form, just as we are of light where we come from. You know, we are actually a perfect creation. And when you start to understand how we are, then of course the fear leaves us which means I won't be attacking other people quite as much because I actually don't have to fight for anything. I haven't got any issues.
That's right.
Running
right.
the energy.
We can't.
It's a good thing.
Yeah, we can't divorce ourselves from any aspect of the universe. We can transform it, though, and I think that's what the new language that's coming out is more emphasis on transformation, or even recognition that it's transformation and reprogramming. So, thank you for honoring us with your presence and sharing space with us. I'd like to collaborate with you again if you're up for it.
I would love to. Thanks.
A lot of stuff we can talk about. You've got a great perspective, and thank you for the work that you do, and wish you the best always, you and yours. And everybody, we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you for hanging out with us, and we'll see you again sometime, Ruth Elisabeth.
Thank you so much, Todd.
Coincides. Okay.
Appreciate.
Right on. Peace out. Peace out. You take care. Take care, everybody. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Unless I get a wild hair, we'll do something tonight.